Hi, I'm Corwin Coe, CEO and Director of Sitka Gold Corporation. Sitka is a junior mining explorer focused on gold, silver, copper, and zinc. It has a diverse portfolio of properties throughout North America, covering Arizona, Nevada, Nunavut, and the Yukon. Currently, we're focused on our RC project in the Yukon, where we just had some spectacular assays come back last week and are mobilizing a drill up there. So very exciting times for Sitka.
Brilliant, cool. Lovely to have you on the show. Thanks for coming forward. In fact, the market did react quite well to your drill results. We'll dig into that ourselves in a second. But tell me a little bit about you, because I think when people come on the show initially, I just want to understand sort of the people and the kind of backdrop to the story. So what's your story?
Well, I'm a professional geologist, a mining engineering technologist, and a gemmologist. I got into this business in 1976. So I've got a few years behind me. I've put a couple mines in production. I've been credited with the discovery of a 2 million ounce deposit up in the Yukon. I've been on many boards and CEO of many junior companies, a lot of success. I've recently, most of the board that we have are guys that formed a company called Tundra Copper about in 2014, when things were really kind of in the gutter, and we took that company from inception to selling it to one of Friedland's companies in 18 months. So we have a good track record, and we had no problem with getting traction to raise money to start Sitka Gold up.
Okay, fantastic. And just tell me a little bit about that, because that's important. Because not many juniors explorers actually know how to monetize things. They don't always make it. So tell me a little bit about the team, and then that sale to Friedland.
Yeah, the company was called Tundra Copper Corporation, and it was up in Nunavut in the Coppermine River area. And a couple of the guys on board and our advisors are copper geologists, like Scott Close, for instance. And at that time, it was not the best time to be raising money and starting a junior company up, but I got convinced that this was an opportunity that wouldn't be around, and so we went up there and staked a bunch of ground and started doing some sampling. Attracted one of Friedland's companies, and they took the company out at a substantial profit to the shareholders. So it was a really good win for us in hard times, and we decided that, hey, we think gold is going to be the next thing to move. And this was in 2016. We started Sitka Gold. We were able to acquire properties at a fraction of what you'd get them for today because of the environment there. And so we built our portfolio and went public in 2018. And since that time, we've raised, I don't know, $12 to $14 million and had 8 or 9 drill programs, very aggressive group of individuals. If you look at our board, Don Penner, he's a geologist as well. He's been all over the world and worked for Nova Gold, for instance. And he's just been exceptional in helping this company along. He's the one that discovered the sedimentary hosted copper showing up in Coppermine River area. And we've got Scott Price, who is our geologist out of Nevada. He's an expert with these Carlin-type deposits. Without him, we would not be in Nevada. I'm not an expert at Carlin-type deposits. My expertise is back in the Yukon and in Arizona. One of our projects, Burro Creek, I was the project manager in the 80s. We were going to put that in production. The price of gold tanked and they shelved it. And I just happened to know about that property and knew that resource was still sitting there. And so we were able to acquire it through my history there. And up in the Yukon, many decades of work up there, really familiar with intrusion-related gold deposits. Identified this area 2 or 3 years ago, and thought that this area is ripe for exploration. There's a brand new road through it. It's not all helicopter anymore. And a bit of investigation, we started realizing that this is a big target for intrusion-related gold deposit. We ended up being able to acquire the Maiden, which was 1,800 claims from Strike Point, which used to be with Sean Ryan and Ryan Gold. So we got an immense amount of information when we acquired that property, and we're following up on that on the sidelines. We did 700 soil samples this year on another area of the property, not where we've just hit this spectacular drill intersection. So that's kind of the group, always thinking ahead and being very aggressive in the drilling end of things.
But tell me this though. Is with there's a lot of geologists in there, and if you hear my friends as geologists, they get very excited about walking the land, climbing mountains, etc. And the geology. But you're a small company, 20 million market cap, as it stands today. They're thereabouts, depending on the time of day. You're in Arizona. You're in. You obviously got the project in Nevada, you're up in the Yukon, and obviously Nunavut as well. You've got to be quite careful about where you focus and how you apply the money. And it's these early days are, sometimes the hardest, right? So, obviously people are excited at the moment about the RC Gold project. Do you have to say to yourself, right, we've got to stay focused. We've got to put these other projects that we've got in Yukon, Nevada, and Arizona just in the background for now? I mean, how do you come at it?
Well, I think that priorities always change. And one of them is getting a drill hole like we released in December. We were not planning on going up there and doing a winter program. It's more expensive. It's more difficult. But so we're not kind of enshrined where we're not able to change our plans, put it that way. And that was one of the reasons we raised 2.8 million in December is specifically to go up there and do a winter program and follow it through with a summer program. Down in Nevada, Arizona, Nunavut, these properties, if they don't perform well, we walk from them. Our listing property was called the Adobe. And we went in there and we spent about $800,000, and we didn't like what we were getting there. And it wasn't like getting married to it. We just said, no, we're not staying with this. We're moving on. And that's where Alpha was born, Alpha Gold, and Burro Creek came in there from my knowledge of the past. And the Yukon just kind of evolved from a very small target to a huge district scale property that has 4 or 5 underlying owners. So we wouldn't have predicted that 2 years ago, that we would have ended up with a project that size in the Yukon and end up drilling an area that had never had any diamond drilling done on it, on a target this size. So we're watching the purse strings all the time, Matt, and we're not going to waste any money anywhere, but we are aggressive explorers, and our track record shows we can do 4 drilling programs in 4 different jurisdictions in a year, and articulate that and have it efficient, and most of the time get pretty good results.
Right. So, but right now for you guys, and obviously the recent news being RC, because you previously had obviously marketed the Burro Creek stuff, but you're saying the emphasis now is RC Gold because it's giving us the numbers that we want. Alpha Gold, you announced some results, I think, last July with regards to the drilling there, but not a lot since. So, what should we, when we're looking at through the PowerPoint, how should we prioritize where you're spending your time, money, and efforts, and where you see the value being created? Well,
right now the value being created will be from the results from RC Gold. Absolutely. We're not able to drill at Alpha Gold or Burro Creek right now in Arizona. We're waiting on BLM permits. So if we didn't have RC Gold happening, we would be one of the companies sitting on the fence waiting for it to thaw, and really holding on to our pennies and hoping for the best. And fortunately, that's not the case, So.
Yeah, I mean, it was a difficult sort of end of the year for gold projects. I think equities across the board have not fared well. But the gold price has, but gold projects haven't. I mean, you've obviously clearly got a view on what the market's going to do for you and allow you to do this year. Do you think that precious metals is going to sort of bounce back?
I think that we're already seeing that with gold. It's having a lot of resistance below 1,800, and 1,800 is not a bad price to me. when you put it to Canadian dollars, I know a lot of placer miners are very happy with $1,800. So we look at Victoria Gold and we look at their cost for operating there. All in is around $1,200 US. So, and their grade is 0.65. They're our flagship as far as representing what we're doing, that it's possible to have a mine at those grades in that part of the planet and operate year round. So I'm not really concerned if the gold price doesn't go up to $2,500 this year. I'm happy with $1,800, and of course be happier if it was there. But then other fundamentals could be really bad for it to be up there. So
But
right now,
I agree with you. I totally agree with you on that one. 1,800 is fantastic. It's if that was the average going forward for the next 10 years, I'd be fine. Well, it depends what inflation does, I guess. But what's the game plan for you though, guys? Because you talk about the 2.8 million you raised, and you raised 6.4. I think when was that? Back in July last year. Was it
in March?
It was March.
Yeah.
Is it much earlier than that? No, you're absolutely right. It was back in March. So you've got to be careful with the pennies. You are being careful with the pennies, but either you've got to believe that you're going to be able to do enough with the drill bit to go and raise a big chunk of change to go and do some more drilling, or you've got to sell in a plan to the market that says, and that could be, I don't know, closology, neurology. You mentioned Victoria Gold a couple of times now. And, we're aware of people like, Banyan also, with sort of similar results, similar sorts of numbers there, right? So you've got to say, look, we're going to set ourselves up to do what we did with Friedland, which is make ourselves very, very attractive. Or we're going to set ourselves up to be able to continually raise capital to do more and more drilling to what end? I mean, is there a sort of game plan here? Do you want another quick sell?
I think everybody wants to be the next Great Bear, and that includes us. But I don't think that just comes to you on a silver platter. You look at what those guys had to do. They had to raise money, but they had to keep drilling, and they had to keep that drill turning, and they attracted a suitor. And I believe that is the way that you want to be taken out, is from success, not from I'm out of money, I'm broke. Can you give me sell my company as a shell? That's not in our game plan at all. And the fact that we have enough money to do a significant program up in RC Gold, like 10,000 meters, and still be able to allocate $500,000 to Nevada and at least that to Arizona, we would still have over $1.5 million in the bank at the end of the year. And if there's no reaction to good results, which I look at December when we announced hole 21, that was a positive reaction. And moving back up there, this is a wide open area that has no drilling done around it. More results like that, I think, will be a positive for the market for Sitka, and with that comes the fact that there's about 10 million in warrants outstanding there between 15 and 25 cents.
Yeah, you've extended those as well, I noted.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we try to work with the shareholders and respect the fact that they're putting their hard-earned dollars on the line for us. And when things don't go right, it's not necessarily just a company, but the entire junior gold market kind of slumped off there. And we've done that a couple times in the past.
Right. So that's potentially another couple of $1 million, or just over a couple of $1 million, like 2.3 million bucks. Most of those at what, 14 cents? Is that right? You're at 15 today?
It's from 14 to 25 cents.
Yeah.
And it would equate to around $9 or $10 million if they were all taken down.
Gotcha. Okay. Understood. Yeah. Right. Thanks for those.
So, numbers. That's a possibility. We could have, we were oversubscribed on both of our private placements last year. And there were some people that wanted to get in that kind of discouraged that they didn't. But we're trying not to dilute any more than we have to, and keep our needs to what we're going to be exploring with, and still have enough gas in the tank to carry on with the admin and keep the company alive as well. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay, so
is where
understood. Thanks so much for clearing up the numbers. I think I was conflating some other numbers. With regards to the drilling, so how many drill bits are going? How many diamond drill or other are going?
Well, at RC Gold, we're bringing one drill up as we speak right now.
Yeah.
They're going in there. They're plowing the road and moving in. And the contract is for them to bring a second drill rig in the beginning of the summer, so that we can have two drills going and achieve our meterage there at RC Gold. And it's also going to, the other plus of moving in there now, with, we had to have some good results to justify the winter cost. But we will be getting assays in, not waiting till next October. Like this year, last year was brutal. We just don't want to go through that again. I want to have results coming in like March and be able to follow up on those into the summer program. So there's a lot of pluses to weathering the elements and drilling in the winter. And I think Banyan's been a good example of being able to do that,
Yeah. No, they're well run team there. Again, a lot of cheers on that team. So in terms of you're expecting to be able to bring more information back to shareholders and do it quicker than you were able to last year. I know the assay wait times last year were affected by COVID and supply chain issues and the rest. But yeah, big time. So are you seeing that improving? Is that what you're seeing on the ground?
I see it improving for two reasons. One is I think that a lot of labs and contractors got caught where they didn't expect the work that came flying at them, especially in the Yukon. And so they had a lot more samples coming into process, a lot more difficulty getting drillers, getting geotechs, geologists. Now people are like, okay, we got to make sure that we got our ponies lined up here. And that coupled with the winter, the labs won't be as busy as they are in September, October, November. Because there's not a lot of companies that are doing what we're doing in the middle of winter up there in the Yukon.
Yeah, for sure. And so, and with regards to, obviously, hole 21 was a big success. But in terms of more data coming through imminently, are we expecting anything more?
We've got 5 more drill holes that are pending, and those drill holes are within that 2 kilometer by 500 meter intrusion-related gold system, but they are a long ways from hole 21. They're like the closest one is 800 meters away. So it's not a backup it's not a follow-up on hole 21. Hole 21 was the last drill hole of the season that we drilled. We ended up getting the results before these other holes through a combination of issues at the lab. We wanted to rush this drill hole, and the lab said no. We had seen visible gold in this drill hole, 21 different areas of the drill core over that 200 meters. We knew that we had a good hole there. We just didn't know how good. But we did want to rush it, and we weren't able to. But it ended up stepping into the front of the line with no, not our doing. It was the lab's doing, because of their analytical procedure. They were starting the other samples off on a different methodological an analytical method, and realized that they had to switch to what we were using, which is 50-gram assays, fire assays. Hole 21 was already at 50-gram fire assays, so it got assayed ahead of the other one. So it's just funny how it worked out.
Sometimes you get lucky, right?
We wanted to get these assays back in September. We were willing to pay double the price because we knew we were onto something pretty good there. The plus of seeing the visible gold was that we had time in the fall to walk around the area afterwards, even though we didn't have the assays back, and check further to the south and to the east and to the west. And we ended up picking up samples on the surface that were up to 11 grams per ton in rock on surface. So we've got a big area there that we want to get in and find out what we're into. But very, very kind of strange way that hole 21, which was our last hole, ended up coming before these other 5 holes. And we're looking forward to having those very quickly here.
Fantastic. And yeah, like I say, sometimes you get lucky and good fortune shines upon you. But I'm intrigued by the kind of the step out, because again, we get a lot of and it usually applies to the higher grade guys chasing high grade. They tend to do small step outs. So they're trying to work out, how do they put out big headlines out? You're obviously dealing with a sort of a lower, and take this in the way I mean it, it's a slightly lower grade of, 2 grams and below, compared to some of these guys banging out, in the high teens or low 20s. They behave a different way. You've got some confidence in what you're doing. 800-meter step outs. You're genuinely attempting to work out what this district holds. So, what is the plan going forward for this year? Can you kind of lay out the drill planning and spacing, etc., for us, just to understand how confident you are?
Yeah, we're for sure looking with our eye on the prize of doing a maiden resource after this drill program, and that's going to restrict us from jumping out 600 meters. We're, especially when we've got something like this hole 21. We want to start putting the drill density tight enough that it can be used for a resource calculation. So 50 to 100 meter step outs would be the maximum that we'd want to do right now, especially when it's wide open. We have a good idea of the orientation of the mineralization. We've been using oriented core in the drilling. So our angle of interception of these mineralized corridors is pretty good. That in itself will dictate how far out we go, because we have an idea where the veins are and the mineralization is. This drill hole is not the only drill hole that is given high grade intervals too. Like I think there was there's a 20 centimeter vein in there that was over an ounce. It was like 35 grams per ton. We've seen that in a few other drill holes, 2 kilometers away that are part of this system. So there's a high grade corridor there. But we think we've tapped into the structure that actually feeds these high grade corridors, and just you got to add luck to the equation, not just science. Sometimes you got to get lucky, and that's one of the reasons we believe in drilling, because the truth is in the SERM. The true SERM is in the drill bit in the end.
Yeah, I think it was Napoleon said he'd rather have a lucky general under him. Look, we've seen a few, and you mentioned one of them already, obviously, and Great Bears. It's the talk of the town at the moment. They resisted the need to go and do maiden resources or any kind of studies, quite frankly. And it feels like it's given permission for other companies to talk the same way. It's always been a traditionally, North American thing anyway, drill to the edge of the envelope, versus the Aussies who kind of like to get into production sooner rather than later. So you've mentioned you want to do a maiden resource. I mean, that costs a bit of money, which, you obviously made a conscious decision that we'd rather spend the money on that resource, put a flag in the sand and say, here's where we are, than continue to drill with the money that you're going to be spending on the resource. So why is that?
Well, I think that it can be a disservice to you if you put a resource together too quickly. When you've got a large area that you're drilling and you've only drilled a little portion of it. We did fly a qualified person in to the property, on the pretense that we may do a resource based on last year's work. We don't have all the data back on all the drill holes yet, but this hole 21 has made us rethink that and go look at, this is a huge area. There can be millions of ounces within this mineralized zone. And, to do a small resource, it could be a disservice as well. But if we end up with some high grade drill holes stepping out from 21 and are able to get to where we're feeling comfortable with the ounces that it would represent, then that would be one thing that we want to do.
And by doing that, who are you talking to? You're talking to retail investors, say, hey, please get interested in us, or I say, the dream is always to go and have a bigger player kind of come in and say, we'll have a piece of that. I won't name names about who's been buying in the district, but you know what I mean. So who are you talking to? Who are you trying to signal?
Well, right now, I mean, we're always talking to people, but our plan moving forward is to continue to explore it on our own with our own pennies. I think at this stage, you don't want to really give something away that could be very impressive for very little dineros, because you haven't spent the time and the effort to actually sketch out what you've got there.
Right. Okay. So you're okay. So how much cash is sitting in the bank at the moment for this exploration program? Are you good for the next 12 months?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
the only thing that would change that, Matt, is if we get up there and we start drilling and we end up with some spectacular additional hits, where we want to expand the program from 10,000 meters to 20,000. We won't be doing that if we're trading at 13 or 14 cents. Okay, we're just not going to. But I don't think that that'll be the case. I think that the market has already started to wake up to Sitka that we have something pretty interesting happening. So
it's kind of interesting. I was talking to a fund manager in the last week, and he was saying, obviously his view companies have different types of personalities in there, and geos tend to be get excited about the geology, and they forget to talk about them to the market sometimes. I think the general consensus is with precious metals space that I think the market will wake up a bit, and the market will do a bit of heavy lifting for you. The drill bit will do a bit of heavy lifting for you. Do you think that you've got the types of audiences, the investor audiences that you need if you did want to do a 20,000 meter drill program up the game there? Do you think that those conversations are already in play? Do you think they're genuinely watching you? Because look, at 20 million, it's difficult because there's a lot of people saying the same things, right? Mm-hmm. So and you don't necessarily want to get distracted with chasing the market. You want to be doing what you want to do this year. So what sort of comfort have you got, or should your shareholders have with conversations which are already in play? Well,
I think that right now Sitka has a lot of eyes on our company, especially after this drill hole, and we're slowly getting the story out there. But as far as raising additional funds, we don't see any problem in that at all. With the contacts that we have, things have changed a lot in the last 2 years for Sitka in that respect.
Okay, and the share price is doing the talking for you there in terms of the recent interest. So with regards to the team who actually got, because I look at the PowerPoint, there's a bunch of names there, but who are the people who are actually day to day in terms of operations and otherwise active? Who should we be looking at?
Well, Greg Dawson, he's getting on a plane tomorrow to go to Dawson City, and he's going to be the boots on the ground for the professional geology there to get started. He's very familiar with the property. He's been there for the last 2 years and very familiar in the Yukon, having worked with Sean Ryan, for instance, for a few years. And he's another Yukon geologist, similar to myself. So he's stick handling that. Don Penner is more focused on Nevada and Arizona and Coppermine. He's the president of the company, but he's taken that on his plate. So we kind of divvy things up when it comes to keeping these projects together and active. And
is that but is everyone like 100% focused on this? Have they got other spinning plates elsewhere?
No, they don't. They don't have other spinning plates elsewhere. They're pretty much focused on Sitka, and they've got good share positions. And this is a thing that is important to me when I put my team together, is that there's skin in the game and that they believe in what we're doing. And like I say, we haven't had any turnover at all on the board. Everybody is focused on discovery, because they know that discovery equals shareholder success, and that equals insider success. So those things all go together in our model.
How much does management actually hold of the company?
It's around 12% right now. It was up around 20% back a couple of years ago, but with the financings that we've done, It's been diluted somewhat. We've participated in all the financings except for the last one here. And the reason we didn't participate in the last one is that part of the agreement was that we weren't going to finance more than the 2.8 million, and that was spoken for plus more. So, but in March we were in on that financing as well.
Okay.
And if you look at the insiders of Sitka, you'll see that there's never been a share sold by any of the directors of the company. We're all believers, and I think part of that is being a geologist too. It's always over the next mountain. You're going to finally find the mother lode, and we're hoping that this is it in the Yukon. So.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. You're committed to this and believe in this thing. Well, I think what I'd be keen to do is obviously one with these 5 drills results coming back or imminently coming back, sort of see what that tells us, because that could be quite indicative. And obviously you laid out quite a big drill program for this year. I mean, you must come on and maybe talk to one of our geo analysts about those results, what you're starting to see, the picture you're starting to build in your own head about what you've got. But appreciate the time today, Cor. Nice little story.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Just leave you with a couple of things here. Sitka. I think one of the things that makes us stand out from a lot of our peers is that we have a strong team that has a track record of success and shareholder value. We have an exciting new target that we're moving in on this month and start to drill, and that in itself has got us really excited. And the other thing is that we have the ability to be diversified with 5 different properties that really help. I think the other thing is, hey, we're financed, so we're not waiting for money. We're rolling the drill out.